Well, I've been sitting on this footage for a little while because I didn't quite know what to do with it. Summarized, this really didn't go very well. So let's see what we can put together here for a little bit of a narrative. Now, to close note this hot mess, I need to point out a couple of things. Firstly is stick around till the end. We end up upside down 3, 4, 5 times. I don't even really remember. It's a short video, but there's an inordinate amount of upside downness in this video. You'll see my face, you'll see James's face. We are burnt out. It was 37-ish degrees Celsius, which comes out to about 98 degrees Fahrenheit. It was humid, and this is a 2.5-hour event through predominantly sand, and that is tough pulling on the best of days. So from the get-go, things were just a little off, I think, for the day. I'm not going to throw up complaints. I put in my best efforts. But that start there is pretty indicative of my age and my feeling off of the start line. I'm in my mid-40s. I was racing an intermediate in this race in Vega, Alberta, or Vega area. It's the first race since I raced down in Washington earlier in the year, but I really haven't been racing as much in the last few years, and I think it just takes me a little bit longer to get going than I used to. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love racing. I still push as hard as I can go. But this weekend was admittedly pretty hard with the temperatures being as high as they were and the humidity being there to kind of push it as well. It was tough, but I did have a good time. Now, I think one of the factors that had contributed to kind of the slow start was that we had stayed overnight at my house in St. Albert, Alberta, about an hour and a half, 45 minutes from here. And normally I like to be set up and camping overnight before the race just so that I can kind of wake up and get into the mode. But I think I just had a harder time getting aligned with it. I'm probably a little more mentally fragile in that department than I'd like to admit, but I make up for it and stubborn in other directions. These hare scrambles are a hoot. I know a lot of people ask us about, what's it like to be on the track with a whole pile of faster riders. You can see them going by there. That overall the system works pretty well. You can hear guys coming up behind you, and they'll usually rev their engine and let you by. Sometimes you just find your way off the track anyway because you just didn't see something. This here was the event that kind of started the badness. I hit this tree on the left. It threw me into the tree on the right, and you can't really see the steepness of this cliff, but it was about 45 to 50 degrees.
Yeah, we're good. Oh, don't go down the hill. That's good advice. It is hot. It is slow. And I just took 5. You know what? It had me. It's not going to beat me. Battery check. Nothing matters more than the film. Zipper check. Phone check. Still alive check.
Now, when I hit those trees, it wasn't really that big of an issue. I have good bark busters and I hit trees all the time, but the accident itself didn't cause any issues. But when I went down the hillside there, my camera came off right away, so you can't really see how far I went down, but my bike went down about 3 meters or 10 feet, and I went down about 20 feet further than that. I got a full 3 tumbles in before I came to a full stop. And when I went back up, my bike was upside down, and a few people stopped and offered to help, but I was stupid and I didn't take the help. And I just thought, hey, you're on your race. You go do your thing. I'll do my thing. But it took me a good probably 5 to 8 minutes to get the bike back up based on the video, and probably about 10 minutes to recover from that. And like I alluded to earlier, James was with me on this event, and coming up here, see this guy resting, and there's lots of crashes and events like that, but came across a situation here that I'd never really come across before, and I'll just kind of let it play out.
I slide through. That's my son up there.
Where?
He's one of the 2 riders down there.
Okay, do you want to get by?
Yeah, I just want to slide by.
Now, we'll save you the anticipation, as he was fine, but James and I have recently started to race in the same classes, and this is one of the worries I've always had racing with kids or having kids in racing over the years, is that one day you find out your kid's crashed. And in this case, he hadn't really crashed. He had attempted a hill climb and didn't make it, got down to the bottom, and he was just burnt out like the rest of us. He'd overheated personally, so he'd stopped, but it was just like a kind of a sinking moment in my gut when I saw his bike, and I didn't see him next to it, and I saw some people stopped. I had been in that lineup for probably about a minute, and we'd been creeping forward, and all of a sudden I saw his bike there, so it was, heart-dropping moment. And it again started messing with my head racing through here. It's not an excuse. It's a reminder that you need to stay focused when you're doing this. It's hard when you got people you love you're racing with, especially on tough days like this. I knew we were all getting beat up pretty good, so it was good to know that he was all right. And realistically, even through all the crashes I had, the group that we were racing with here, the Northern Alberta single track enthusiasts, they were excellent. Everybody was stopping and offering help, so it's like you couldn't ask for a better support group. But then again, you also never want to have those thoughts in your head, so it's a bit of a tit for tat sort of a situation. Now, when it comes to the layout of the course on this, I had only ever ridden in Vega once before, and it was on my dual sport, so we weren't really in this area. But it was a cool track that cut out quite a lot. I think it was 28 or 29 kilometers long on the loop. They'd set up these rest stations, which turned out to be a godsend on a day this hot. And I think, honestly, I drank about 4 liters of water at that rest stop. I'm pretty sure that I pretty much zeroed out the bank there. It was a memorable one for sure. No, I like riding the sand. Single track and sand is a little bit of a new experience. I mean, we'd ridden a little bit in some of our previous forests that we'd ridden in, but this was tight. And anybody who's ridden in sand, particularly really soft sand, this is particularly deep. It's hard to see in the video, but you sink in quite a ways, and with the temperature being that high, it was pretty dried out. The single track, you just slid around everywhere, and admittedly, I just didn't ride very well in it. The more wide stuff, I could get my speed up a little bit, but the narrow track, it took some adjustments. So I'm kind of looking forward to going back next year, hopefully if it's a little bit colder, and give it a try. Now, for everybody that's made it this far in the video, you get the real treat. There was a matrix at the end of the lap. Now, I only did 1 lap in this. I lost so much time. Like I said, I had that one crash on the hillside, and it was not my only one, although that was the biggest one. So I was doing this at the end of 2.5 hours. I got to it at about 2 hours, 15 minutes, and it took me about 10, 15 minutes to get through this matrix. It would be tough if you were fresh. It would be tough if you weren't dehydrated. It is tough with my skill level. Some of these guys could get through real quick, although we had Oscar here on the right was with us, and he was mentioning that the guys that were going fast were having some pretty spectacular offs as they were trying to clear more of these more than one obstacle at a time. So it's probably better off for everybody that I didn't hit this with a full gut of energy. Some of these obstacles are pretty high. They were just under hip height. It's hard to see in the depth, but it was all dug out underneath the logs. Absolutely had a blast in here, though, despite being just exhausted. I was keeled over, hanging off of my bike several times through here. A lot of dragging it over. I cleared maybe half the obstacles. The other half I was just picking up and dragging. This is not my skill set yet. It was hard to do a matrix in the sand. I'd never really done that before, but you don't get the traction like you do on rock. I need to get better at loading up that rear tire before launching, doing standing launches, stuff like that. But thankfully, being a little bit of a bigger guy, albeit short, I can generally just lift the bike over. But overall, I had a blast. I'm looking forward to trying it again in lower temperatures. I'm going to mute out the audio of what was said here because I was a little bit upset when I said this, but take a look at James's face. I mean, that is the face of victory by survival. We had a great time, though. It was a great event.